Yes, it is 9:32, so we'd like to call this meeting to order, and Commissioner Lautner is going to say the pledge today.
And you can join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Chairman Mussel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Alguier,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present?
All present.
Thank you. We have a proposed agenda, and the administrator has suggested, has requested that we take 8C off the agenda for today. I believe we're not ready to deal with that. Any additions or deletions? Commissioner Lautner?
Just a quick question on 8B. Would that be better served during budgetary times?
No. I'm just telling you no.
Okay, any reason? In your opinion?
My opinion is well, it's all in my memo, but at that time, this was an outstanding, what I understood was an outstanding issue that needed to be dealt with, and I am dealing with it. And it's up to you. Now, once we get up here, we have this discussion up here. If you want to defer it till budget time, that's up to you. But all has been done with it.
Well, I guess that's two things, and I know this isn't really a place for discussion, but we just did an adjustment on them. See, there's lots involved, so we just did an adjustment on them a year or so ago.
If it's on the agenda, then we can talk about it. So
Well,
would you
that's
like
my
to,
question.
would you like
Yeah,
to make a motion that it come off the
Yeah,
agenda?
I would like to move it to budgetary time, and reason being is, I didn't see any cost analysis at all.
Okay, let's see if there's a second.
Okay, we will discuss it then, but, can we move it up? Or how long do you think the rest will take? How long do you think settlement will take? Because I don't want to be until late afternoon. Get to that.
I assume we're going to be out of here by lunchtime.
Okay. All right.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion
to approve as amended.
I think there's one addition they want to do, and they dealt with the appointment process.
Yeah.
Regarding Mr. Papa.
Yeah, we saw
With
it.
the passing Mr. Papa.
Yes.
So if you want to add that.
Mainly what we're asking is that you authorize us to proceed with that process. So you can put that, I would make that number 8. You make it 8F, and then F can become G.
Okay, thank you. Now a motion.
Motion to approve as amended. Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. We now have the administrator update.
Okay, I'll call for the first one was on hirings. First of all, I want to let you know that we have we made an offer, and we hired Mrs. Jennifer Kane to be our human resources manager. She will be starting on September the 30th. So we're very proud to have her. I want to thank Kathy and Lauren for being a part of that team to put this together. They asked some pretty frank questions of her, and I think that's going to make a great working team in the future.
Cain?
Kain. So, and seeing how we have a great, we have a meeting on October 1st, I'll make sure she's here and you can meet her.
Okay. Where did she come from?
Where's she come from? Here. She lives here.
Business,
Grand Traverse County. We took her from the personnel department, human resource department in Grand Traverse County.
Okay.
For once we got one from another county.
Okay.
So we'll take
Thank you.
Kathy, I'll let you do the other announcements.
Does somebody's phone next to your microphone?
Oh.
There's getting a lot of feedback out there.
Mine's not on, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can still
I
hear it?
have, I'm sorry, do you want me to do something else?
I don't know, can you still hear it out there?
Yes. Okay, it just finished. It's gone now.
Is that time?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Whatever just happened, finished.
I moved my speaker up.
Well, I think it was okay, but that's
Probably.
okay. So as you know, I have been on the search for an account clerk, and I'm happy to announce that Ms. Jody Logan will be joining my office this coming Monday. She comes to us from the state of Ohio. She has been involved in county government in Ohio. And she also not only has account background with them, she also has elections background. So Ohio is a bit different. So I'm going to protect my new clerk from the county clerk's election. Because she comes with expertise and was very highly loved by her references from that county in Ohio.
Is she going to commute?
She lives here now. She and her husband relocated to Leelanau County. This was their vacation home for many years. And they decided to leave Ohio and come here permanently.
Smart move.
Yeah. And then I, late last night, received word that Assistant Finance Director position has been accepted by my candidate. I am not at liberty to announce the name because it's quite late last night. So I'm going to wait for him to let me know if it's okay to let his name out because I think he might be letting his employer know. And he would be relocating here from Grand Rapids.
Congratulations.
You got a full team then.
Good.
Fantastic.
His start date would be September 30th.
Fantastic.
So by October 1st, I should have a fully staffed team, and we'll go to a department.
Great work. Thank you.
Okay, budget calendar. I know that last night, or I don't know when, but you received a copy of the proposed budget calendar. I'm asking you to take a look at this over the next week because we will be presenting you with the 2025 budget next Tuesday evening. But you can see all the key dates we have in there. We've also put in here some proposed work session dates, so please check your calendars in the next week to see if all those will work. So I would appreciate that. Kathy, thank you for putting this together. So we'll take it from there. Okay,
Is that it?
that's it for now.
Any questions for the administrator? Okay, we now are at public comment. We invite you to speak up to 3 minutes on any item that's on the agenda today. Would anybody like to be recognized to speak? Yes, Phil, Mr. Wiesner. And which agenda item are you speaking to, Bill?
Audit service.
It's the, audit services.
Thank you.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And this is just a great, I'm certainly no expert on this, but I think it's important auditing. And so I looked to see if I could find anything, and I found this article. It says, Building Trust for Effective Financial Reporting and Auditing. In 3 minutes, I just have time pretty much to read the highlighted portions. So you need to ensure the transparency and reliability of financial practices. There's a link. I'll turn this in and read it online if you want, at the county website. Trust is so important. It's a cornerstone of effective financial reporting and auditing. Without it, stakeholders may question the accuracy and reliability of financial statements, leading to a lack of confidence. We don't have confidence in the county in what's going on, nothing's going to work well. In today's complex economic environment, establishing trust has never been more critical. Things are so complicated. We need to make sure everyone has trust in the system. We need to uphold the integrity. And the key components of trust are credibility and reliability of financial information. Transparency is vitally important. Organizations must provide clear, comprehensive, and accessible financial data. If they don't have the data to look at for everyone, it's not transparent. We don't know that it's accurate and complete information. We need robust internal audit functions and accountability. And then it goes on to advanced techniques for building trust, fostering a culture of integrity and engaging in proactive communication with the stakeholders, coming to us to ensure us that the finances are accurate and there's no fraud. On the back page, cultivating a culture of integrity within the organization is equally important. Going on, proactive communication with stakeholders again. This means going beyond the mandatory disclosures and engaging in open, honest dialogues with investors, regulators, and stakeholders. Asking them if they have any questions, and if they do have questions, then explain it to them so it's, honest to them. Impact of trust and reporting. Trust profoundly influences the quality of the things. And just the underlying portions, organizations that prioritize trust do best. Trustworthy financial reporting thus becomes a catalyst for stability. And the last section is role of trust in auditing in another time.
Thank you, Bill. Any other public comment? Sam Getzinger.
Hi. Sam Getzinger, District 2. I would like to tell you how much trust I have in all of you and to you and our finance department. I can't believe the county can do better than Leelanau County. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Robbins?
Rick Robbins, Elmwood Township. I'm going to discuss real quick on, you're going to be talking about 8B today. And I was involved in that in 21 when this all went down. And I think we're to the point now where you have several options to do today. I mean, you can raise everybody up to par or do a partial raise. But I think what we really need to do, this all started, like I said, back in 21 when we gave a raise to another department head upstairs, and it opened up a can of worms. And it just keeps going on and on and on. Me too. I think it's time that maybe we do look at a study. I mean, there's probably employees in this building that probably aren't making what they should. There's probably some that we may find out maybe they're making more. We need to have a good independent study. I think your options today are you can bring the other two up to par, or give a partial raise. Or what you could do too, if you could legally look into it, Mr. Lewis, is, along with the clerk, is maybe for the time being, for this next term, is not give anybody a raise, but have legal look into it, see if our chief deputy clerk we have now, keep her at that raise, and if she retires, quits, or gets promoted maybe to another position, the next clerk, or excuse me, chief deputy clerk would be at par with the rest of them. I mean, that's an option there. Let's just look at that. I think we really need to have a study and see what we should be paying everybody here. It's probably long overdue. I mean, this Me Too, it's never ends. I mean, who else are going to, you do something today, you get a raise, who else is going to get in here? Because it's been going on for 3 years. I know one of the commissioners on this board said we opened up Pandora's box, and we have. because it's like every 3 months, there's another department head or somebody coming in here wants a raise. And so I think we really need to look at your options here and look at long-term and not just a quick fix for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make public comment? Thank you very much for coming today, and there'll be another public comment at the end of our meeting. Any commissioner comment? Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, thank you. I actually have a request, and the request is along the line of 8B. So when we get to 8B, as I remember it, I believe we did. Can we get some details on, I thought that, yes, obviously, I objected to a raise upstairs, said it would create problems, it's created problems. But I thought we addressed these positions once since then. So can we have those details of when the last time we did, if we adjusted these two positions? And then we should have some cost analysis on what that would be costing us in MERS and in Social Security and all those sort of things too. We need all those kind of costs when we get to B. So can we have all of that?
This morning?
No, when we get to it this afternoon, or I know you weren't. I know maybe the clerk has all of that already up here. If you can remember, because I know you weren't finance director at the time, so we can just get that when we get to there. Those will be some of the questions we've got.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay, we now are going to move into our action items, and the first one is for the sheriff's office,
Which is an inmate boarding agreement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna let Lieutenant Roush handle this. He's up to speed on all these needs for the correction side, so Lieutenant Roush.
What this is essentially Grand Traverse County reached out to us to get a formal inmate boarding agreement. We've been boarding inmates for them just basically on a verbal agreement between the administrations for probably 12 years now. They reached out, wanted to do a formal agreement. Basically, what's in front of you is essentially verbatim from the agreement that we had with Kalkaska in 2022. Just changed some names. This is in the hands of corporate counsel, and as of this morning, I don't think we've heard back yet. So we're just looking for approval to do this, pending corporate counsel's review and approval.
Commissioner Rexroth?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners allow the Leelanau County Sheriff's Office to enter an inmate housing agreement with Grand Traverse County to board Grand Traverse County inmates. Further recommend to allow all parties involved to sign said agreement pending review by corporate counsel.
Support.
Any discussion?
Is this a yearly thing, or is it gonna be $35 a day for the next 20 years?
No, it's
25.
It's just
The current contract.
Is that the average rate, 35?
That's what the Grand Traverse band contract is and has been.
Okay.
We've been charging Grand Traverse County 30 just based on the handshake, but I think given the times, everything is more expensive than it was 12 years ago. Employee costs are more, it costs more to run the jail, so we'll bump it. What we're charging them to board their inmates is.
Does that cover that increase of 12 years, not just $5?
I mean, we could raise it more, but I think that's kind of the state standard is anywhere between 30 and 35 days, but we're charging.
Okay.
How many prisoners or inmates do you expect from Grand Traverse?
Our max that we put on here is 15.
Okay, but I mean, it's, in the past, it's been
Anywhere from, right now, I think we only have 2 or 3. We've had upwards of 15 to 20.
thanks, good job.
So what if you?
Thank you. My question is on his last one. Why did we limit it to 15, and can that be floating if we've got room? Or do you have a reason you only want?
I think we can float it. I mean, typically, we put a number on there for Kalkaska too. I think we just don't want to lock ourselves in and guarantee them 15 beds if something happens.
And we need more.
And we have a big influx, yeah.
Because we do have overflow beds available that we,
Well, not necessarily. So it's a 72-bed facility. typically corrections facilities like that operate at 80% all the time. You never want to be totally
I
full
see.
because you have nowhere to move inmates. And inmates is in one cell because they're unsentenced. As soon as they
I
get
see.
sentenced, their classification changes, you have to move them to another cell. If you're totally full, you don't have any flexibility.
So will you consider this floating? So if we've got room, if we have, because generally we've run very low here,
Sure.
Leelanau prisoners, so.
Yes, I mean, we just put a number on it because we have a number with, Grand Traverse Band is capped at 7, we were capped at 15 with Alcasca. So, yeah. I mean, if they reached out to us and said they were really in a bind and they needed 5 more.
You feel like you could override it and
Yeah,
just,
sure.
that's all I
They
need.
help us continuously, like when we have training days and all our people are tied up with special events. Our entire crew will be subbed by them. They'll come in, run our jail for us for the day. We want them to training, whatever special that we have. It's kind of a give and take relationship. Just this month last month, they took 30 inmates down to Clark County. They're boarding 30 down there. They're in a real bind in Grand Traverse. We try to help them. They're good to us. And we try to work as a team back and forth. But as we increase numbers of inmates, so do our conflicts increase. As per that fight that all ended up in an injury last year, our people are generally pretty well behaved, and you start bringing people in, like some people around, and what we're trying to avoid is fights, injuries, deaths, suicides, and so forth. So that we're trying to keep it balanced with a reasonable number. And that's why they're good.
Commissioner Elgar?
He answered my questions.
What's your current number of inmates in the,
27, 2 are from Grand Traverse.
how many?
27,
27.
2 are from Grand Traverse.
So we do have room.
Yes, well, we have room. We have a tribal contract as well at the same rate. So we're kind of paralleling that with a rate of 35. It can go up and down depending on what judges are doing in terms of sentencing, but 27 is a good number for us.
How many are ours?
25.
25.
Well, minus the ones from the Grand Traverse Band, which I think this morning was 3. Yeah, thank you, I'm sure.
And they're generally Leelanau residents anyway, so I still consider them ours, even though it's a tribal contract. So
That's
Okay,
fine.
so 22 and then 3. Okay.
20.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We're ready to vote? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0.
Thank you. The second thing is an early hire. This is pretty much, we've done the board for this in the past. I've got a corrections officer who's looking to retire at the end of November. We have a candidate in the pool ready to start really anytime. So we'd like permission to hire that employee early, no earlier than October 5th. That helps us get them in, get them acclimated, get them most of the way, if not all the way through the training process. When they are in training, they are not counting in our staffing levels. It's essentially like still being down one employee until they're through training and signed off on their own. So this allows us to get them all the way, if not all the way through that process. So when one leaves, the other one can jump right in, fully trained, and it's like we're not even using the person.
Commissioner Elgar?
Well, so that was my question is, so they haven't been a corrections officer?
This particular candidate has worked local. He currently is in Miami Correctional Facility in Indiana, which is a maximum security prison.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he was in Crawford County.
So what is the training then, just to acclimate
8
to?
weeks.
Out-
Ours is 8 weeks.
But for our jail, I mean, isn't it? Does it have to be 8 weeks?
At a minimum, yeah. I mean, they come in, they know how to deal with inmates, but they don't know anything about our policies, procedures, our programs, how we pass medication, our classification. Classification's different from a prison than it is a county jail. Prisons, they're not dealing with the court system, they're not dealing with unsentenced and sentenced inmates. They pretty much have a one-size-fits-all in prison. Everybody's sentenced.
Sure,
So,
sure. It just seems like 4 weeks would be.
no, standard is 8. There's sheriff's offices out there who do 16-week training programs for the corrections officers.
Commissioner Elgar?
Trusting that you know what you're doing, I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners allow the Sheriff's Office to hire a new corrections officer no earlier than October 5th, 2024, to replace the position early that will be caused by the expected retirement on November 29, 2024.
Support.
Commissioner Ross.
Yeah, I guess this just begs to ask, why don't we have policy that states, when these positions become open, this is needed or required, I think you used that word. It seems to me that why do we have to approve this? Why shouldn't this be built into county policy? The succession, we all know, is constantly happening, so I don't understand why each time it happens, we have to look at each one individually. I'd beg to ask if we can work on that.
Kathy, you're right. Typically, the 8 weeks will be over a budget staff.
As part of your budget, and some appropriations and your budget close, staffing levels are set at numbers of bodies. And the dollars that are associated with those bodies are budgeted. We don't have overlap. So any employer comes in and has this situation, they come before you and ask for overlap. And so you have to approve the extra body, because there's going to be 2 in that one position. And you approve or ask me to draft up financials for you so you know what that costs, and you approve the budget. Because it's an amendment to your budget for that person.
Okay.
Okay?
So this is standard practice?
It's happened
Okay,
many times.
so we shouldn't be arguing about 4 weeks or 8 weeks.
If that's what they recommend they need, then you take that into consideration and you tell us.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Hopefully with our new HR person, we will know how many people are going to retire, how many people are going to need to do this. So there's going to be probably a lot on him or her, whoever it is.
Commissioner Luther.
2 quick questions. One is, I was going to ask for the costs associated with the overlap will be, so we'll get that, I expect, for Tuesday, okay? The second thing is this a for sure retirement? So documents are signed and so that we don't
Don't think it's
adjust?
that far yet, but she's been talking about it for about 6 months. I think she's in the process of trying to get that stuff taken care of. I think she just wasn't quite sure, without having someone in HR, exactly who she was supposed to go talk to take care of all this.
Okay, we'll need to know that before
Right.
Tuesday night, because otherwise we're
Tell
going
her
to
to come and see me.
All right,
I spoke
with her yesterday and we can move
okay, so you'll
work with
make paper signed
So-
and all that.
to talk to Richard about it.
We will get it taken care of.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
Thank
Quick question, Todd,
Yes.
may I, before you take off? You have binoculars in claims and accounts, and what does corrections use binoculars?
I have a set in my car.
Oh, because you go out, like,
In case I'm somewhere and something happens and, we got a boat in a lake or something like that and I'm
I see.
close, I can.
So it's not for like in the jail?
No.
I just couldn't figure that out. All right,
Nope,
so
you don't
thank you
have
for
that.
that. Like, you're really zooming in on something in the jail. All right. thank you.
Kathy, I think you're next on the family court.
This is regarding child care fund. Last summer, we did a budget amendment for the October 1st fiscal year for child care fund, moving 50% of the salary and wages of Pam Clerk and John Boomstra from the general fund to child care fund for reimbursement from the state. Now, the reimbursement opportunity for John Boomstra is we can move 100% of his wages starting October 1st of their fiscal year, which is our 4th quarter. And so this motion that we're proposing is to reallocate the cost of 1/4 of John Boomstra for 2020. It's 1/4, 1/2, if you follow me. Don't want to get in the weeds here on you. Just going to move his cost from the general fund to child care fund so that they can use 75% reimbursable.
Commissioner Luther.
But then we're amending the 24 budget, and it's done at the end of this month
No.
This is for
No.
October 1st.
for October 1st. Okay, beginning
He's still-
October 1st.
he's
So it'll
still-
be the new year.
For that,
Oh,
For
super.
that.
Okay.
right.
Okay,
So
good.
it's to start the fiscal
Different
year for
fiscal
child
year.
care
For
fund
fiscal
grants.
year 24, 25.
Yes.
All right.
For their fiscal year, the state fiscal year, Yeah, we're
Right, I
trying
mean,
to-
we've only got a month left in that fiscal year if
Yeah,
it was for
yeah.
2023, 24. That's
Yeah.
why, okay.
It's
Mr.
just
Russ?
our fourth quarter, their first quarter.
Okay.
I move to
Okay.
recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve amending the 2024 budget and reallocation of attributable wages and benefits in the total amount of $12,914 for the last calendar quarter of the year and first fiscal quarter of MDHHS for diversion prevention counselor John Boonstra from Family Court 101.325.132 to Child Care Fund 292, as well as amending the staffing levels of each as presented.
Support.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Kathy, I was reminded when I looked at the package, you put a lot of stuff in our, a lot of work in our board book this week. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We now will move to item 3, which is U2.
Yes, and Richard, I just put that handout on the corner of your base there. And this is Michigan Indigent Defense Fund, the cost analysis proposal for year 25. It's also an October 1st start date, so we're again talking about a state-funded event. This is a mandate that we share cost in. So, in talking with Paul Jarbo yesterday, the state has not signed off on our grant, but we're not alone. There are 40 municipalities in the state of Michigan that are still not signed off. So we have an option. We can kick this to October and wait, or if I've handed out the amendment, which is a slightly, the budget is slightly reduced. Our cost share is the same. Our contract is the same proposed with Jarbo's office. So what you can do is you could amend, I put a different suggested motion on this amended budget. And you could say that you are approving acceptance of it upon the state of Michigan accepting, contingent upon the approval of the state of Michigan accepting the amended proposal. And we could take care of this business today and then also move on the Jarbo renewal contract as well.
Commissioner
Contingent upon the state.
Certainly.
It's up to you.
Mhm. So I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners to approve the grant number E2025 TBD.
They haven't assigned a grant number to it yet.
Oh, they have, okay, so we can pop that out. Between the state of Michigan and the Michigan Indigent Defense Council and Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, MIDC/LARA, and Leelanau County for the grant period of October 1, 2024 and September 30, 2025, with an authorized budget of $369,376.60. Funds to come from the reimbursable state grant contribution number.
It's a dollar sign, sorry.
Okay, contribution of $316,130.38, and the local share of $53,246.22, contingent upon the approval of the state of Michigan accepting the amended proposal.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0.
So I thought that was a fun number. That'll come out of the Indigent Defense Council. Okay.
So now we're on 3B, contract with Jarbo.
In the EDS, I gave you the draft contract as the third amendment. This will be the, I think it's the third, yeah, this will be the third time we'll renew with Paul Jarbo's office to perform these services for us. It is required to have legal counsel do this for us. And there is a $5,000 increase due to new reporting standards that needed to be implemented, and they took on additional staff. And the caseload is a bit bigger. You know, we're out of COVID, life goes on. And
Do we know what the hourly rate is?
I'm sorry?
Have you figured out what an hourly rate is for the attorney?
No.
Because we're not going out for bids.
The
The NIDC program is contingent on state funding. It's just like your county share will never increase. It's built into the statute. And we use Jarbo and Field because we did go out for bid several years ago. Grand Traverse did. And we keep all 3 of the courts in the circuit with a contract with their firm for consistency due to the needed rotation of the attorneys. And so he administers it for Antrim, Grand Traverse, and Leelanau. So it did go out for bids.
It did.
It did through Grand Traverse, and the costs have been reasonable and in line with, to go out for bids and go off on your own probably wouldn't be in our best interest at this time.
When was that bid?
The bid was 4 years ago by Grand Traverse, and we do keep in, Administrator Lewis hasn't really been involved in it yet. It just generally, I bring him in and I've been more involved. But we would do it as a group and following Grand Traverse lead because we are the smallest caseload of the circuit. So it's really important because of the flow of attorneys and who's available. We generally use only 2 to 3 out here.
This is a 1 year.
Yes, 1 year.
Commissioner Rush?
I think I'd like to follow up with our chair's thought that maybe we could get a copy and just see a little bit what those dollars look like on an hourly basis. If we could have that, that would be nice by next Tuesday.
Gosh,
Yeah,
I
we-
did a breakdown.
We did a
reach out
breakdown,
to-
yeah.
And it was in response to a public question on caseload.
Mhm.
And I did get updated figures from Katie at that time.
Mhm.
I haven't updated those with her, but if you'd like to have me do that, if she's not able to whip it out really quick, I can have it probably by next Tuesday to let you know the caseload.
I
And
think that
I'd say, let's, if it's your so desire, we can move this forward and we'll try to get the rest of the information to you and have it for you by next Tuesday evening, if not before.
And Paul has a number of attorneys who work with him. He's got a bunch.
Yeah, I support moving it forward to get more information, but we work as a tri-county.
Yeah.
This is a tri-county.
Okay.
It's a joint
So let's move it forward
project.
so that we all. feel
project,
comfortable with
so we don't want to go out and do this on our own.
And Paul Jarbo offered to be available to us. We could have him
Yeah,
come in
he was-
next Tuesday or have him see if his schedule is free to come in. He offered to be here this morning as well. I thought that would give you your opportunity to let me know what you like.
it. Could I have a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you. And now we've got the crosswalk.
Yes, I put an EDS together for you to let you know about something that it has been in our future and it's been okay. That we haven't taken this project under and done this. It has been talked about for a couple of years. I think the clerk's office, Michelle Crocker especially, offered to help the county do this, and she was not taken up on her generous offer. But we can't continue to push this down the road, especially if you are thinking new software, which we're investigating together. That it would be a lot to undertake new software and an account number change at the same time. So the recommendation that I'm bringing forward is that we undertake that now. Start 25 with our new account number system so that in 26, which is the tentative rollout, if we are to go down the road for new financial software, we would start 26. But we'd already have a year of getting accustomed to the new account number system because it doesn't only impact my office and my staff. It impacts all of the account executives and department heads around the county here that code their own invoices and send them in for payment. So they'll have to get used to their new account number system for their department as well. So we thought rather than hiding the whole elephant at one time, we'll take this chunk now and get it underway for January 1st. But in order to do that, there's a lot of hours involved in looking at your current chart of accounts, utilizing the book, the Chart of Accounts Uniform Act, or the Chart of Accounts Act that I put the index in your packet to show you. It's a thick book. And someone has to sit and say, okay, you've got this fund. This was the number then, with every account underneath, anything from wages to office supplies to contractual. And in the new chart of accounts, what does that equate to? And we need the map for every account and every fund. So we know, going to Harris, which is our current financial software, we tell them this account number now needs to be this. And they'll help us either tell us how to do it in-house, and if we have the staffing ability to do it and the talent, which if we can do it, we will, with their guidance. If it's more than we can undertake, I have asked them to prepare a quote to let us know what Harris would charge us. I'm not that far yet. We have to have the crosswalk, no matter what. It's either they do it or we do it, but we need the map.
Gwen?
Okay, so now I'm confused though.
Okay.
Because you are asking for funds. I thought you were asking for funds to do that, but you just said,
No, the map costs money.
okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
so we reached out to a solutions arm of Raymond. This is separate from our auditors with Raymond. They do public business solutions. And I used Rachel Frisch, who we utilized for the Raymond report, and asked her, what would it take for us to have Raymond's assistance in giving us the crosswalk map. And they provided a quote.
so I would move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policies. And talk a little? Yes, I will also
Thank you.
sit up
Thank you.
so people could actually hear me.
And is your microphone
Excuse
on?
me, everybody, I'm sorry. I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and enter into contract with Riemann Public Sector Solutions for development of a crosswalk chart of account plan with the goal to achieve implementation and compliance with the Michigan Department of Treasury Uniform Chart of Accounts for fiscal year beginning January 1, 2025, in the amount of $30,000, funds to come from contingency.
Support.
All those, any discussion?
I-
Commissioner Ross and then Commissioner Wagner.
So I'm still a little confused. So you said your staff or people in the building will be able to do a lot of it. So why is there a set fee of 30,000?
They're developing the map. Then we take the map
30,000 for a month.
and
No.
our chart of accounts and our funds, we have so many.
Okay.
And they need to make sure that they equate from function in the department to function in the department that the state is requiring the numbering system to be. So there's a lot of analysis that has to go on to get that done. They give us the chart and the map, and then we take it, and that's where we say, can we do this in-house? Can we go into our software and change those account numbers on our own? Or do we need assistance because it's so much work?
So you're saying we might need more money to cover their assistance once we have the
It
plan?
would be Harris.
Yeah.
Because
You're going to do this one way or the other. Do it now, do it later. You're going to do it. Sooner or later, the state's going to tell you, we've given you enough time to undertake this, and if you don't do it, you're going to be penalized in some form or fashion, whatever. You're going to get caught up in it all. When she presented this to me, I thought, oh, why is it? But whether we use Harris or not is another whole decision. But until you have your map, just like any map, if you wanted to drive here to Detroit and you wanted all your different routes, you got a map. Now, once you know the direction, it's up to you to drive it. Now, we will either drive it in-house or we'll have someone else, we'll hire a driver to do it, to get it fixed. And you can't, if we're going to go to a different software, financial software, or we're going to look at Harris, what can they do? So you have, the commission will have options of which software to use and how to use it. But you're going to have to get this chart of accounts corrected. It's all wrong, period. I mean, the state says you shall.
it's actually what they call obsolete.
Extremely obsolete.
So I don't, and obsolete. And
Like it.
the one conversation I did have with Harris that was very encouraging is the preservation of historical data. Because if you take a number today that's a 15-digit number, and we're going to someday be a 12-digit number, then it could be totally different. And the example I gave you is the accounting department. That's one department, all the account numbers converted to another set. The new set in our world that we're in now, if you were to say to Michelle Crocker 191, you would say that belongs to elections. In the new chart of accounts, it does not. 191 is an accounting number. But once we touch Harris or whatever financial software any county has in the state, we're going to enjoy that we change that account number. It'll take care of historical data, so we don't have to run two databases to look for history, which we do all the time. We do look back all the time.
Commissioner Lautner.
So, you're correct, we either have to do this now or later. So I go back to, we should have done it before. And I'll throw this out there, I really don't think there's any chance our clerk was going to do it at no cost. Is that an option anymore?
I offered 3 times to do this for free and was turned down. Not for free, but to do it because I'm the only one left on staff that has the experience to do this, as I've done it twice.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any other discussion?
So we don't have any other choice. And I believe Raymond is the one with the historical data to get us started.
First of all, it's not the Raymond auditing firm, it's the Raymond over here. They're 2 separate wings. I don't assume,
Has to be.
but they have the expertise in house to get it for us. So,
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you, Kathy. Richard and Andrew on the tax rate request.
Good morning.
So I come before you twice a year to present the House 29. We
Yeah,
presented
mine.
it in May of this year to set the operating millage for the county, and now we're being asked to set the millage rate for roads, seniors, and then the early childhood program. So the L 4029 is the form that process occurs on. For roads, seniors, and early childhood, they all were voted on just this past August. Roads and seniors were voted on, and I mean, they all were approved. Roads and seniors were inclusive to this year, so that millage, those new renewals are on this 29. The early childhood millage was approved, but that new millage, that renewal will start in 25 and run to 29. So we're just, for early childhood, that one's still, looking at the 29, that one is still incurring a rollback, whereas the others, roads and seniors, is not incurring a rollback, any rollbacks, because they are brand new to the 29.
And Kathy and Richard, you did an analysis of the proposed budget for early childhood, and I think you have a recommendation.
yeah, on the early childhood, we are recommending that for 2025, and as well as to have enough funds to cover for the first quarter of 26, that the millage rate will only need to be 0.2000, but that'll give you enough cash flow to cover, and have enough cash flow to take care of 25 as well as to cover the first quarter, because that's when you're collecting monies with also any surpluses or fund balance that will remain after fiscal 24. So we feel very comfortable in that, and it also makes an assumption that all the monies that have been budgeted for 24 are spent. If it's not, that's even better. So we're giving ourselves enough comfort room to do that. So we don't need the full millage rate.
Was that coordinated with
The early, with Michelle, the early childhood
With their
program.
budget.
Was that coordinated with them,
She presented her budget to
that
us.
number? So
Right.
this is.
But you have a contract already in place and how much they are going to receive next year. So that contract's already in place. This takes that into account.
Okay,
In 25 next year, when the full thing, you're going to, I believe you're going to be looking at a new contract. Am I correct? I think the current contract ends at the end of 25, so sometime next year you'll be looking. And that's also when the new millage or the renewal millage kicks in. So it'll be a different scenario at that time. So.
Commissioner Retro.
So do you need a motion to amend the rate as, because that's not the rate presented on this form?
Well, we need to
well, there is
fill
a
them in.
rate percentage yet.
We need to fill in the rates, and
Fill in the
I think what is being recommended, tell us what is the recommended rate for the road? It's going to be,
For roads, I believe we're recommending the maximum allowable, which is 0.5.
0.5.
And then also for seniors, the maximum allowable, which is 0.32.
Okay, 0.32.
Yeah, that's actually on there.
Right here, yeah, three.
Yeah,
And
those
then
are on
the
there.
other one would be 0.2000. So
And the county one?
The NEs.
the
Is
county's,
that at 3?
It's already done.
huh?
So that one is set.
You've already set
The
that.
summer levy has been set. You set it at 3.3083
Back in April.
May.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
already been billed. So we
The-
We'll look at that one later.
These
So-
are the three millages that show up on your winter tax bill.
It's the only one I get, so.
I know you haven't made a motion yet, but I just want to make sure I'm following this. I'm having some hard time hearing. On the road for column 11, what the administrator and finance director are suggesting as possibilities, this column 11 would be 0.5.
Correct.
For senior services, it would be 0.3200. And for early childhood, it would be 0.2000.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Commissioner Rush.
I would like to move that the County Board of Commissioners approve those millage rates and place those in column 11 as the millage rates requested to be levied on the December 1st and return the L4029 to the Equalization Director.
Support.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, question for Andrew. How much does 1 mil bring in the
So
county?
it's 1,000, so it depends on the total taxable value.
You don't have that total tax,
Well, so-
like what 1 mil will bring in countywide.
I'd have to do the math.
Okay.
And then
Could you get that to us? Or we need to- What's our taxable value now?
Your taxable value right now is, if I understand, is
3.945944,
I mean, we could do the math here pretty quick.
3.945
It's in a billion.
billion.
So 1 mil is gonna bring in 3.9 million. If it's a single mil, that's all you're levying, a single mil is 3.9 million.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Kathy. Now, the lawn contract. Is that Kathy or is that Ricky?
Well, Kathy was working on it, so.
Yeah, I worked on it with Jerry.
Okay.
You have a 2-year contract with Spinnaken Lawn with 2 one-year renewals. And so we reached out to Spinnaken and had them rebid, and that's in your packet. And right now, I think it's a 20 mow estimated amount. Through July, they've done 14 mows. So I think it's a good number of mows to estimate by. There's an option, but we have not taken it, but there is an option for a spring cleanup if for any reason that would be included. It was included in the 2-year contract, the original contract as well. So it's a slightly higher rate per mow than what was in the 2-year, but it was frozen at that rate for 2 years.
Commissioner Auger?
We are recommending that you do renew it. From what I understand, they've done us, provided us great service, and anytime we find something that needs to be corrected, they correct. And so I think it's been a good working relationship, so we're going for one more year, so.
So I'm willing to make a motion, but, so we've never been, in my family, lawn
Never been what?
focused real, I pulled back the name I was gonna get. Focused on the perfect lawn. Dethatching, have we ever paid for dethatching?
We have not.
It says
Okay,
it's
so
an
I move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the board policy on bid requirements be waived and approve a one-year extension on the contract with Spinnaken Lawn and Irrigation for county campus lawn mowing at $520 per mow, and determine in the spring whether we choose to have a spring cleanup, period,
At $84 per hour.
at $84 per hour.
Is there a second to that motion? I don't believe it.
Okay.
I'm not
Commissioner Lautner?
including
Yes, I have a question.
detaching.
So, well, basically, these lawns are not real old lawns, right? They were really got established probably in 2010. So it may be time for detaching. What did they recommend and what did our maintenance recommend? Do Jerry and Dwayne think it's time for us to do dethatching? Is that why this came up?
It was in the original contract, I believe. Let's see. Spoke for 1 year extension. Also noted the original contract has an option at the county's request. The contractor shall provide a one-time season dethatching, it wasn't spring cleanup. The original contract quoted a rate of $2,250, which we've not done. It's just an option. And the proposed quote for 25 is a reduced rate of $1,500 should the county request to have a dethatch. It's totally up to.
All this is that we leave these in, now that I've understood, thank you, now that I understand it, we're leaving these in the current contract, the prices have been reduced, it's up to us, up to the county at the time, whether we need to utilize it or not utilize it. So that's what we're doing.
The service will not be performed automatically.
Right, and it's an option. Do we want to throw this option in? Is it time? Who is recommending?
It was in the original.
I understand, but are they recommending, they're the ones, and our lawns are beautiful, so I highly recommend we renew with them. I have absolutely no complaints about the service. But are they recommending it's time? Have they looked at our lawns? Is it just something they do every so often and they're recommending it? Do Jerry and Dwayne think it's time? How are they?
We can email you back.
Okay, so we can always change the motion Tuesday night. So I move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the board policy and bid requirements be waived and approve a one-year extension on the contract with Spinnaken Lawn and Irrigation for county campus lawn mowing at $520 per mow, adding an additional spring cleaning up at $84 an hour and updating the optional dethatching rate to $1,500.
Support.
So we will have a recommendation by Tuesday night, whether we want to change that motion.
Commissioner Rush?
I'm just asking again why we're waiving our bid requirement on this, because what's our policy?
You have a contract with them that is a 2-year contract
Yes.
with 2 1-year renewals in the contract. I'm just telling you what you have now. So this is to renew with them. If you want to go a different route,
I just,
But this is part of an existing contract, is what she said.
yes.
We already have it for 2 years.
And the RFP that went out at that time did request a 2-year commitment with extensions. Your RFP was written that way.
okay.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Rexroth?
So on that subject, I mean, if we have a 2-year contract and quotes in the contract for the 1-year extensions, they're asking for an additional $30 above what they quoted for their 1-year extension per mow. That's where I'm confused.
There was no quote for the extensions. It's just the extensions are in there and that we would have to renew and get their updated rates. It doesn't have a rate in the contract for renewals. I think it should.
Okay, I mean, it seems like then in action, we don't have a contract, we just have an option to be nice with each other again. I mean, that really doesn't constitute a contract if there isn't a price attached to it, so. I mean, I'm not arguing with the situation, but that really, we have no commitment to them right now at all, because they've made no commitment to us. Yeah. I'm not, yeah.
You are correct. You are, at this point, you're considering exercising your right to renew for one extra year. Not, you don't have to renew for the second year, but it's you built into this. If you're doing great work, instead of going through the process of having to go out for bids and go through all this and teach people new stuff and let them learn, that's all fine.
Yeah.
But you, as a county, through your contract and through your bid document, left yourself the option open to say, let's renew for 2 1-year periods. That's all you can do.
Right.
When you get to the second year, if that's what you want to do, you're going to have to go after bids because you have exercised, both of you have exercised all your rights. Now, when you're optioning it for the first 2 years, they were locked. You're doing this to say, instead of going out, what's the change that we need to make? Well, one thing they've reduced, well, if we've been out here looking around, if we have to detach, instead of spending $2,500, we could probably get away with $15 if you want to do that. And they're saying, of course, time takes time. They're saying, here's what's going to cost us each time we come in here to do a mow. $30 is probably reasonable. I mean, I'm sure your work hasn't stayed the same for the last, it doesn't, so none of it does. So.
No, I guess my only
You're
point would be.
exercising your option to extend it 1 year.
My only point would be is that usually if we have to negotiate something with a 1-year extension, there's a number attached to that extension. When actually at the point, they would have put that increase in there at the time, so we would have known what it was, so.
Well, not necessarily, not necessarily.
And could I interject that
Yeah.
contracts do come to you for review before they're executed? So if, in future, when you're reviewing contracts.
That's just, it's just a
those things
suggestion.
that probably something that should be brought up at the time you're considering the proposed contract.
You know, this is small, but I've seen contracts where they go out, you have a 10-year contract, but they have yearly renewal and financials. Doesn't mean you're going to be locked into that price for 10 years. So you're doing the same thing right now.
Okay.
So we have a motion on that.
$30 is only on, what is that percent? It's less than.
6%.
6%, yeah, I was gonna say it's less than 10.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0.
I won't be real open to detaching next year.
We now have Gail up.
I can do this. I put this one in here because this is part of mine on the first part. We need to redo the whole public hearing process of relation to the brownfield. As it relates to that, we needed to do 2 public hearings, and where I made the mistake when we had it last month, we should not have closed that public hearing. We should have adjourned it and held on to it. I mean, the memo or the EDS you see there is the same thing that I wrote in the memo that I sent to you, where we were going to have to do this. There's also a second party to all this. This is what we are telling the public, we're going to close this brownfield. There's also the property owner, and they had a right to come to us at a later date when we were going to get ready to do that, this meeting. But we closed the public hearing, so we can't reopen it. And so we just need to correct what we did. This is not earth-shattering at this point, so we now are getting this to whereby we're going to reschedule the public hearing for this date that's in here for October the 8th at 6:30. Everybody gets to be there, one more time, and then later on that evening, if you want to close the brownfield, you closed it. Everybody's had their chance, and everybody will be happy and walk away. So I can tell you.
I recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners to set the public hearing for termination of the West Bay West Shore Brownfield Plan for Tuesday, October 8th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. I assume we'll have as many people at the rescheduled public hearing as we did.
I am sure you will. The only one that we really want to make sure that is noticed is the property owner. That's the main party that we want to make sure that we met our requirements for this, so. Anyway, we've learned now how to do this when you've got numerous parties you've got to deal with. Okay, we'll take care of it, so.
Gail, you have a program planned for planning commission.
I do, our annual planning session next month. And I have an agreement with MSU Extension to pay the mileage for our speaker, Mary Riley. Approximately $110.
Commissioner Rush and then Commissioner Lautner.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve the MSU Extension Services Agreement and Statement of Work as presented for the annual Planning Commission Fall Training Program and authorize the chairman to sign same.
Support.
Discussion. You were going to say something, I interrupted you.
I was just making sure we had voted on the public hearing. We did vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, all those in support of the motion to pay mileage, say yay.
Aye.
It's a good program. Yay.
Thank you.
Motion approved, 6-0.
English.
Michelle Crocker.
Yes, this is more of just a paper shuffle. At the August 2024 regular session, you made the motion to move forward with an extension to the current contract with the interim administrator Lewis until May of 2025. So we had the contract amended and drafted. I sent it to you with the portions highlighted, very minor, just to, in order for Ty to sign it, we need to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Think about this real hard now, folks.
No way.
Mr. Retro.
I recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the second amended and restated interim administrator employment agreement as presented, and the chairman be authorized to sign.
Support. I all support.
Sorry.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, you're stuck with us.
That's your report card.
It could be another regular, yeah, you're stuck with me. You know, it goes two ways here.
We're watching you.
Can I ask for a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Denied.
We will adjourn for 5 minutes.
Good idea.
Renew his contract and he's all ready.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll reconvene our meeting. Thank you for allowing us to have a break. We are now down to the 8A, grant
Okay.
policy.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to our finance director, but as noted in the EDS, this is something, the item as it relates to the updating of our grants management policy is both was a finding in this year's audit, and I think it might have been in previous year's audit, but it's also a part of I'm trying to say, empowering your purpose document that was provided to the county, I think it was earlier this year, but it was also probably the largest section of that recommendation of changes that we needed to undertake. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kathy and we'll take it from there.
And it is part of the corrective action plan that we submit to the state of Michigan in response to a finding in our audit, so we can strive to do better. And this document was compiled by our legal counsel, utilizing the documents that Richard referenced, our old the policy that we're updating, as well as the excerpts from the Raymond report, Empower Your Purpose. And then a bit of input from Richard and myself regarding what we perceived what your expectation is as to how grants are placed before you, the ultimate decision-making body.
Commissioner Retro.
I move to recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the update to grant policy number 8.03 as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Richard, we're now down to 8B.
Under 8B, this is a discussion as it relates to the adjustments of salaries for both the Chief Deputy of Register of Deeds as well as Chief Deputy of Treasurer's Chief Deputy. In your EDS, as mentioned in the memo that I provided to you, that we discussed about the 6 months, that what you were expecting from me for the additional 6 months of my extension. One of the items that I brought up under staffing dealt with the to organize with the county treasurer and register of deeds, chief deputy treasurer and chief deputy register of compensation with the chair and vice chair. I think it was you, Ms. Lautner, Commissioner Lautner, that said, no, that's something that you need to do and bring us back a recommendation. So that is what I have done. This is what you requested. So I did meet with both of those elected officials to talk about this. And the only rationale that I can find is trying to look at these two positions in comparison to the positions that we have in under our other contracts of other deputies. And that deals with the assistant finance director, and then you can look at the assistant director of 911. I apologize that these are not in color because you could have made it easier for you to identify what the recommendation is being made. So what I'm looking at is more equity of what we have in other positions of similar nature with these two. The thing is, it's not about, how many hours they work or don't work. It's more about what is expected of all these deputies and all these assistants that we have throughout our spectrum here of what happens if someone is not going to be there. The only position you don't have that in there is something for your county administrator. What happens? But that is also covered because then it falls to the county clerk to assume the role while your administrator while you do not have an administrator. All these folks that we are talking about, either under the elected, mandated, or contract, or even the positions above, that if something were to happen with the director, then the assistants have to step in and assume the role until this body or other bodies make sure the role gets filled. If it's the clerk, there is a process that's outside of us. But if it's internal, such as the director of emergency services, if that person leaves, this person, the assistant director, has to fill the slot. They fill it and assume the responsibility until it changes. It could be the assistant director, it may not be the assistant. You don't know, but that's what you have to do. And that's what I'm looking at here with these two positions. If the county treasurer were to leave, or something happens, they can't do it, the deputy has to assume the role until the system, I think it's done by another system. I mean, we don't get to fill it. That's done by another process. Has to assume that responsibility. And that's what I'm looking at. This is my recommendation to you. I didn't put a date when it would be effective, but I would say that given that it's next Tuesday night, that you may consider it or you may not, then you would fill that at the beginning of the next pay period, following pay period. We're in the middle of a 2-week pay period, so that would be the week after next, or 2 weeks from today. So it's my recommendation to you. I feel like how you want to proceed with that, I'll leave that up to you 6. But I'll leave it there. If you want to do something different, you may. So there you are. I feel like I've completed what I said I would do, or you had asked me to do this memo, and I've completed that. How you want to proceed, I'll leave that into your hands. So,
Commissioner Algar.
So this has been an issue for a while, and I understand it. And in public comment, this issue was addressed. We really need a wage study, and we haven't wanted to pay for one. But that's what we need. We have put that off we've talked about it when Commissioner Sotis Little was here, we talked about a wage study. One strong objection I have to this proposal is that starting salary then becomes higher than the senior services director. And that position has always been paid lower than anyone else. And I think that is just dead wrong. So we would have to do some equity there. I understand in time, the senior services director does make more, but the starting salary would have to be adjusted. So if we adjust these two salaries, I think we also have to adjust the senior services director starting salary.
Commissioner Lautner?
So Richard, to back up a little bit, you said you were asked to bring us a recommendation, but you had said that there were promises made?
All I know is that somewhere or another, when the deputy clerk was done, from what I understand, that these two positions would be discussed sometime in 2024. That's what I understand. And that's,
And when was that?
I don't know, I'm gonna have to ask,
Wouldn't that have
I'm
been
gonna have
assumed
the
to be?
chair and the vice chair to speak to that, because that's how I've understood it. And I've seen it in some records someplace.
I'd be happy to speak to my recollection. I don't know if it was May or June of 2022, but the county administrator at that time, Chet, brought recommendations for all three chief deputies. At that time, he was proposing everybody at the same level, because the current chief deputy had overtime wages in excess of that amount. We had a legal opinion in that, at that time, and I looked it up before this meeting, that said we could not adjust it to our predetermined level during the current term of the chief deputy clerk. And if we wanted to make adjustments anyway, we had to do it before the end of this year for the next term. So we talked in this meeting, it was May or June.
Okay.
We said we can't do what the administrator recommended at this time. We'd relook at it in the year 2024. And that's why it's on the agenda today.
Okay, but what I was told is that the chair and vice chair had made promises to them. Well, our vice chair wasn't even on the board in 2022. So the question is, when then was this?
All I know is that when I started, this was a topic that needed to be dealt with, and that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
And I take your two officials, you appoint as your leadership, the chair and the vice chair, and that's what and that's how I've addressed it.
And I don't object to looking at this. I'm just thinking that it should be done during budget time. We're out of cycle. We're going into our budget time, so I just don't know why we wouldn't be looking at this at budget time. That's my request. Secondly, I know, has it been since 2022 that we raised those two positions? Because our treasurer requested a dollar amount and we took that recommendation and raised those up. Is that correct?
That is my recollection in 22.
In 22, we did raise them. Okay, that's what I recall.
When did we raise them? How much? What was that? Does anyone remember?
That's right.
I would have to come prepare that for you.
It's at where it's at, but where was it before? Is what she's asking. So-
Yeah, right.
One was approximately 6,000 to 8,000, and the other was close to 16,000.
One got a $16,000 raise, and one got 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
In 22, and we're looking at giving another $7,000 raise mid.
That's what it would be if I'm trying to do equity with other positions.
But
That's just me.
here comes in the problem is the equity, because as Gwen said, we start popping one, we start popping the other, and I'm sitting here thinking from what you said, so you're and I'm just saying the rationale for this is because if that elected official isn't there to fill in, they are responsible and they fill in, and that is worth $7,000. So, and you also said, if the administrator isn't here, the clerk steps in, and that then should be worth $7,000. And our clerk is wholly underpaid.
That's decisions
Really?
y'all, those are decisions
I
you.
understand, but I'm just placing rationale to rationale.
I agree with you.
So if that's the case and our clerk fills in the event that we don't have an administrator, then we need to be looking at that as well.
We need to look at salaries.
I'm looking rationale.
I'm not arguing with you.
And I'm not arguing either. I'm trying to put all the cards on the table, because there are some that are, I think, over, but,
Commissioner Ross.
I would like to say that my predecessor, Patricia Sudis Little, definitely expressed to me that this was an area that I needed to keep an eye on, and I have. And I believe that when talking to employees throughout this building, everybody has a concern. And I think now is the time that we do a real study. And I know we don't want to spend the money, and there are flaws, but I think if we would all really work together and try to come up with the parameters and really spell out what we're looking for and how the process is going to work and be in agreement, I think we should go forward with this. But I don't want to go forward with it if people are going to say it was flawed, like we did another survey from this body. So I would like to have a conversation about how we go forward in getting a wage study done, so that we do not have to handle this the way we've been handling it in the last couple of years.
Commissioner O'Rourke?
Well, Mr. Lewis' job is to look at equity, and I think he did. And until we do have a wage study, which I've been a part of several wage studies, they never worked, just my personal opinion. They're a nightmare, it really is. And the time you fill out in a 50-page, I don't know, but I'm for going forward with this right now. Mr. Lewis is an independent person, and he looks at what is equity.
Commissioner Rexroth?
Leave it up to you.
There seems to be a fair amount of questions on information and costs, and so I'm not sure that maybe getting that requested information before the next meeting isn't a good idea, and kicking this to the regular session as an action item then after we receive the information that has been requested. There's not been unreasonable requests. This isn't fully burdened information. We don't know the full financial impacts with what we're looking at. I'm not opposed to the general, but in fairness to people who have asked legitimate questions about numbers, I don't think it's unfair to get some of the information requested and have it for our next meeting and make a more informed decision.
You're making a motion to move it forward then?
Yeah.
I agree, we can get you the cost analysis, that's.
Well, we definitely need that.
So,
And I have that
I guess I
note
would make
already,
that motion to move it forward to the regular session meeting and ask that the requested information be presented to us prior to that meeting for review prior to the meeting.
Is there a second to that?
Support.
Any further discussion?
I don't even think we're going to be ready next week. There are too many inequities here.
Well, we may
There was
not
a,
be.
there was a comment about, you're right, the clerk and the treasurer, their salaries haven't been raised in years. And that's wrong. I will never vote for something that the starting salary for a deputy is more than our senior services director. You just won't have my agreement. We really need to look at salaries.
But the senior service director does top out at 76.
I know, but the starting salary
Well,
is
starting-
lower than a chief deputy.
Senior.
That's at 68.
And we're proposing 69 for a chief
Well-
deputy.
It's,
Commissioner Rexroth?
I guess just to speak to my motion, I think, and to Commissioner Elgar's comments, I think that the idea of a wage study is a whole other thing that needs to be taken up separately, but if we obviously there's some disagreement on support how that'll happen and what will happen, and it's not a fast process, and then there'd have to be agreement on the results of that could be 18 months out from right now. So I'm not even opposed to the process, but in the meantime, we got problems that will exist for 18 months to 2 years. So I'm gonna go back and ask for support on my motion, move back, get the information and see if we can come to an agreement to act on it on the next meeting and provide a path forward maybe on the rest of it. But I don't disagree with the idea of a wage study. I mean, I have my own concerns, but it's just, that's a long time out before we ever get to anything done there, before we take action, so.
And I like getting more information, and I would ask that we also include the administrator, Janek's original recommendation and the legal opinion that came with that, and then the minutes of that meeting where we had that discussion about why we had to do what we ended up doing, and we're going to revisit it.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I think that Commissioner Lawton is right, the vice chairman involved in that really is not this vice chairman, so.
That's why I didn't use names.
Thank you, appreciate that. I don't have any information to give because I was not that person, so.
Since we're going forward to this, is it too late to look at senior services and equity?
Let's see if the administrator wants to do that by next Tuesday.
I would think he would.
No,
I think we have.
You said no.
I have too many other things.
That's apples
I've,
to.
I've got other things on my plate. If you want to deal with that one, I'm dealing with what I said I was going to do, or what I thought I heard needed to be completed in 6 months. Anything else is going to have to go through budget.
Okay.
Anything else will have to go through budget. And I'm not, and I agree with you. I've been through enough wage studies to know there's winners and there's losers.
Yep.
People will think, well, that, I didn't get, they didn't see what I do, or they didn't. I've watched Grand Traverse County go through it. The city's gone through it. It comes out that way. So,
okay.
and I think on your elected officials, there may be some things that you need to talk about, but you're going to have to talk to all of them as a group. I don't have that authority to do that. I don't feel like that's within my scope as your interim. That's going to take a higher level, but I'll leave that up to you to do that as you go through budget. So,
I'd like to just suggest a simple thing. If we were to adjust those two, just adjust the starting salary for senior services to the same number. That's a quick, simple fix, and then we could examine
well,
more things
and once
later.
again, these are starting positions. That we're doing the whole wage scale. We're not doing. I mean, there's the cap. Yeah, we know what's.
If there's not a big difference, that would just make it.
Let's vote on the motion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
To move
Aye.
it forward.
Opposed?
I'm not opposed. That was a late aye.
Motion approved, 6-0.
We'll do that.
Did you get all the stuff from the 2022 or whenever that was and get it in the packet and the cost analysis? I got it. Okay.
Good.
Okay, we now have a proposal for an audit.
Okay. Last month, when we went through the start the whole audit discussion, you directed that we should go out and get for requests for proposals. And also at the same time, you asked for a 1-year extension that could be offered by REMA. In your packet is their 1-year extension, but it also caused me to have some concerns, and about a week ago, it just hit me that you really can't do both. If you really want to consider a 1-year extension with REMA, we should go ahead and do that and stop the RFP process. And I'm looking more at the county's credibility. I know, Mr. Rexrow, I don't know who else has in here been in business where you have to go through an RFP process. It's not like you just sit around one night and just wait. You put a lot of work and effort in. In my 5 years in the private sector, that 5 years that I did my sabbatical from local government, made me realize how important putting a RFP together to respond to when those folks do a lot of work. They do a lot of effort goes behind the scenes. If you want to proceed with a 1-year agreement, I would do that, and I would recommend we stop our RFP process, because all of a sudden we're coming forward, and if we don't take that seriously, then I think the county's credibility for a year from now, because this is just a 1 year only, If we don't take it seriously, then what happens is your credibility for a year from now could be damaged. That's my opinion, but I've seen it and I've heard it and I've watched it happen on another level. And we have already had 2 inquiries to answer questions. I'd rather just stop, go with this if you're doing it. But if you don't want to take this, then we're not going to consider it later. We're done. You know, it's one or the other. You can't do both, in my humble opinion. Now, and that's where I'm concerned about. Your credibility a year from now, if we were to go out for an RFP, well, are they going to be serious? I also know that this current, or I've been informed that this current vendor is not considering putting in a response to the RFP. So it's just, all of a sudden, we've got more damage coming than I think for the county than just going, if it's just straight RFP, that's one thing we'll have to evaluate. But you've also heard from the finance director that with everything happening out there in her world, in their world, going through one more year with Raymond would be more beneficial than not to get this past what we're working with. And I don't think that you're going to find anybody that's going to do this for a price that's going to be the same amount than what they're offering, from what I'm hearing out there from others. So,
Commissioner Lauder?
Yes, I vote to recommend the Board of Commissioners to accept the proposal from Raymond Robson for a 1-year extension of the current agreement for auditing services in the amount of $84,000.
Support.
Any discussion? Commissioner Archibald?
So, having spent a great deal of time in the private industry the last 30 years, RFPs are part of doing business, and you don't always have a hit rate. You know that going into it. That's built into your cost of living. So I don't have a problem requesting the RFP. One thing that's missing information is what is the increase from last year? What was last year's audit number?
I'm sorry, last year's audit, I thought I had that in here. Last year's audit was 64,000.
So we're approving a
$81,000.
around a 25% increase from the previous year with no bids.
That is correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But whatever it's 5-year contract, but the price for last year was.
I may have it somewhere in my files here, in my notes.
I also am concerned about our credibility with taxpayers as long as our credibility with
I understand.
our vendors. So I understand the continuity thing, and I get that. I'm sympathetic to our situation.
Well,
but
that's why I am requesting that if you want to go with the 1-year extension, let's go with it. That's up to you. If you don't want to go, but it's either going strictly everything with an RFP that we would bring back to you, the responses to that, or we stop that process right now. And we're also behind the 8 ball a little bit because they're staffing up for all of it next year. You know, I'm learning more about this part of it. I'm being honest with you. I had a great city treasurer that knew how to deal with all this well in advance than I deal with. So it wasn't a world that I worried too much about because they had the process down. But I think I think the county could be in a situation that if you wait till October the 1st to make your decision, you went with this, then your bidders are going to go, well, why did we even bother if you were going to do this?
So you have an RFP out there that they've already started working on. What will they think of that?
They've started, but they haven't completed or submitted. We can stop the process right now.
Commissioner Lauder?
And I absolutely appreciate what you're saying.
I agree with you.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And I also agree with the county credibility thing. That is a big issue. We've dealt with a lot of that in the past. And we don't want to go down that road again, where we weren't getting vendors even to put in RFPs for us. So, but what I listened closer to was last week is the importance of the continuity of the auditor firm with the county, but also with our finance department, being we've got such a young finance department and a lot of new employees. I think that expertise and familiarity with the county is going to be really important for 1 more year. And then by all means, it absolutely should go out for bid next year. That's my thought on it.
I agree.
Are we ready to vote? Would you read the motion, please?
Yes. Motion by Lautner to move to recommend that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners accept the proposal from Raymond Robson for a one-year extension of the current agreement for auditing services in the amount of $84,000, and I should note that that's the road commission and the county.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-1.
Being held hostage.
We're getting some great expertise.
Mhm.
That's what.
Yeah.
We now have county administrator search process.
Okay, first of all, our condolences to the Popa family for the passing of Mr. Popa. It's been a long-term member of numerous committees or,
I think we're on the wrong.
which one?
We're on the county administrator.
Oh, that one.
So wait a minute, who got it?
On that one, first of all, you have three items that I need to look at. First of all, last week, or when we met on this, mentioned that I would redo the job description. Basically, if you were to look at it and as well as what was provided previously, there's not a whole lot of changes in it other than what I did. I took out some key words of saying extensive and whatever, you couldn't define that. But once again, most of the responsibilities and duties remain the same, but they're not the CFO. You have a finance director that is, and they have to work together, as I explained. The other part of this is under the essential duties and responsibilities. I took the whole laundry list that was in that and tried to break it down into four broad groups. One was the general overall responsibilities of an administrator working with the county board, working with the elected officials, just general overview of how that relation is supposed to work. Put in there pretty strongly that supervise the staff of the finance department and all the items that deal with the finance department, and then also as the chief personnel officers and dealing with the human resources staff regarding that, which is the staff of one, and all those labor agreements that go along with it, and then whatever else was left. So there's not a whole lot that's changed in it. It remains the same. Both Chet and I and working, met with Ty to make sure we were thinking how they would want to do that. So I think your job description is pretty much what you had before, and maybe a little bit of improvement in that. The second item in here is that meeting with the Michigan Leadership Institute. We do have the vacancy posting that we're ready to implement based upon this job description. And then we put together a calendar of when things should start taking place and when we would move forward with this. We tried to take into consideration, I did send out an email to all of you to say what vacations do you have coming up sometime in November and December to go through this. So that calendar that we have here is pretty much taking all that into consideration. So if you're ready to move forward, we're ready to move forward with that, working through the Michigan Leadership Institute. As I understand, I don't have anything that relates to, they have a contract with you at this point. You know that they stated that they would continue to work with you, with the county board, until they had someone in place. I think there's about $3,600 left in that contract with them that we haven't paid. If you think there should be some other adjustments, I'll leave that up to you, for you all to have some discussion with Chet down the road. I don't think he's here, is he? No, good. So,
I think he's in Poland.
well, it's probably a good place for him, at this point. So, there you have it.
I did have a conversation with Mr. Janik, and we did have a contract with him for $4,000, I think, for the search, which is about 40% of what he charged Branch County and other counties. I personally believe that he found us an interim administrator for a year, and that we've changed the job description, and we need to supplement that existing contract a bit. Chet's not demanding it, but he's starting over. And so I would ask that we give some thought to, with Kathy, to see how we might modify that existing contract. I think it's fair.
I would support that.
Yep. Is that a motion?
No, I'm not gonna make a motion.
Well, I'll have
But
to,
so,
I think we'll have to work with Chet, what he thinks it would be.
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to work through that and bring something back to you, so. But I wasn't gonna jump into that ring. All I need, what I'd like to have from this board is move forward with the job description, move forward with the calendar, and also you have the salary range that's not changed. I mean, it's a pretty wide salary range. Chet did provide a copy of what other county administrators, their salaries are, but I think it's a pretty fair and wide range that you may have to look at, especially given what I learned, the village manager of Sutton Bay, what that salary is, and others, you're probably pretty much in a range, but it also depends on who you have in front of you and the years of experience that you have. I know you like to have 5, but you may just be able to find someone that you think would fit with 3, so that may mean you start a little lower and do something later. But those are decisions you make later on in your interview process.
Commissioner Rexroth?
move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the county administrator job description, date September 4, 2024, and salary range for the county administrator position to be $110,000 to $140,000. And to authorize the clerk and the administrator to work with Mr. Janik on approved contract extension in the search.
Support.
Further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. And did we also approve then the timeline for interviews? And if we did, we want to make sure we get that on everybody's calendar.
Please. Fortunately, hopefully, if we do well, they'll be after budget, so there you can look on that part of it. So we're going to try to move things along. That's why I can't say I'm going to take on a whole lot more than what I'm taking on right now, because I think those are the two most important things you guys got besides the running of the day-to-day stuff. So.
I might well have one glitch with that calendar, but I'm trying to work it out. So
I will.
Yeah.
We will see what we can do in putting all that together.
Yeah,
That
I'm
makes
available.
With all due respect, sir, I got to do the same thing for myself.
Yes.
Is the motion, I see it as written here, does that include the timeline as outlined?
I didn't put the
Oh,
timeline
okay.
in there,
I just
but
wanted to make sure.
I think we all have it. I mean,
Yeah.
It can come back to you.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay, all those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Did we vote on that twice?
I think we
so.
did. yes.
Okay, well, that way you were being sure. of it.
We're just honoring how much our
Some
administrator, how much
use
work.
one to do it.
Well.
Now, the next item on the agenda, and I see Gwen was surprised by this. We were sad to hear that
Okay.
Mr. Popa did die. We do
Passed
have,
away over the weekend.
Oh,
and we do have an obligation then, and are you speaking to it or is Michelle?
All right, I will, because I asked Michelle. And the main reason is the process is not any different, from what I'm used to in other ones, but I didn't know what happens with an elected official, because your road commission members are elected, not appointed. So the process is basically the same, that it is the responsibility of this board to appoint an individual to fill out the remainder of the term. You don't have time to, and that term would end, currently this term ends in 2026. Any candidate that wanted to run for a full term would have to do so in November of 2025.
No, they'll file in April of '26, it'll go on the August primary in '26, November, and then it will start a new term on
Right.
1/1 of '27. But this appointment, you are correct, will be based on the length of term remaining, will serve until the 12/31/26.
Yeah, so that's it. So it's your responsibility to appoint someone. There's no time period when you need to do that. What I would recommend at this point with I don't think you have to vote, but if you want to, that you would direct us to put an ad out or advertise, or you can say that we would like to seek applications from individuals who would like to be appointed to this board. would be, then we would set up a time for you to interview those applicants, or you can select, and then we'll bring all the applicants to you. You can select who you want to interview, and from that, you can make an appointment. So we'll try to move that as quickly as we can, because I'm sure they don't like to have the vacancy out there, so.
So you need a motion to that effect to authorize?
I don't
or-
need one, just as long as you understand it, you just kind of give us a consensus, move it along, Mr. Lewis.
Move it along.
Move it along.
Okay,
Mr. Lewis.
there you go. That's all. We just wanted to make you aware of it. I know you've got, Michelle, thank you for getting that together. But, you had the information from last night. And if I see the reporters are here, we'll be glad to give you a copy of that email so that you have it to do. Okay.
Mr. Popa will be missed. He did a lot of good work in this county for parks and for road commission and for the lake association and the dam, so it's sad.
So sad. You're all right there.
Okay.
We now are looking for a motion.
Okay. And the motion needs to be revised. We had a wrong. Okay. When you start the motion to go into closed session is to discuss collective bargaining, and it deals with MCL 15268(1) subsection C, not H.
C.
So moved. Support.
That motion also includes that the finance director and the county administrator would be asked to join in that closed session.
Yes, please.
Roll call,
That-
please. Before we do that, to the
You're okay with the additions to the motion?
Absolutely.
to the public, who after we vote on this, we will go into closed session to talk with our attorney. We will be back and reconvene our meeting at some point. I don't know how much time we're planning on, but I suspect about a half hour.
I have that motion was made by Commissioner Lautner. So Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. We will be back.
I'd like to move back into open session, make a motion to move into open session.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Doesn't
Motion
it do roll
approved.
call?
6-0, thank you. We now are at the place in our agenda where we're going to review financials. Michelle, I'd like to let you know that Commissioner Ross is excused in a few minutes for a previous appointment.
Okay.
So she will be leaving. Any questions for Kathy?
Good job. No questions.
I didn't see anything.
Just need to tell you, I am going to be changing an account number on Summit Fire Protection, page 15. It was to move a sprinkler line for a heat pump replacement. So we'll be attaching that to that particular heat pump, the cost of replacing that heat pump. And it's about $1,100 some dollars. So you also have a budget amendment, so that we move that money to 470. I'll present that next week.
Anything else for Kathy?
You answered one of my questions. That was just caught that on a quick scan of them. I'll scan them again, but if I have any other questions, I'll call
And
you.
you can always email, and I'll send to all, so that you all have information equitably.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any special reports?
I've got one from staff. One is that you received a letter from me that came from Kevin Klein, who would like to have a joint meeting with this board as well as Grand Traverse County Board. It deals with the, as you saw in the letter, as it relates to the terminal expansion bonding. They want to go for bonds. That Leelanau County has to give permission, and so instead of them coming and we ask the questions and Grand Traverse County asking questions, it was between myself and Nate Azer, was that it'd be better if they could both hear everything at the same time. There's no financial responsibility of Leelanau County. They may be asking Grand Traverse County for the full faith and credit of Grand Traverse County, but there's no obligation on our part. We just got to give them permission to go with that. You got your letter, but they would like to do this on October the 14th at 3 o'clock. that gave you the letter, but they've given a time. So I'll have this as an add-on for your meeting next Tuesday night so that you can go ahead and offer that. So we'll take it from there. I just wanted you to be aware of it again, so. Okay, thank you.
Monday.
Briefly, Beta has moved to their new building. So that's exciting, and there will be public tours. I think I'll bring the date in. It seems like October 4th is in my brain.
That's my birthday, okay?
Oh, happy birthday.
10-4.
10/4, that's why it's a cop, you know.
Any other agency reports? If you didn't see yesterday's Record Eagle, the front page article on the financial woes of the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health and the community mental health system across the state because of the cutting of Medicaid dollars. And I think that Greg McMorrow would like to be on the October agenda to brief us on the serious budget deficits in the community mental health program.
It was a pretty interesting article.
So at this time, we have public comment. Anybody want to make public comment?
Yes.
Mr. Wiesner?
Bill Wiesner, Homewood Township. We want audits to be trustworthy. Elections are even more important than audits. And we'll never be trustworthy unless it's one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. This is what I mentioned, you guys. I have a hand, I don't have the handout together, but I'm going to get it together, I'll email it to you. Hopefully we get it up on the website too. This is something I've discussed with Michelle a couple times. Our county clerk, Michelle Crocker, has stated several times to me that she doesn't deal with Dominion voting systems. Rather, she only deals with election source. So, and the table here says ES&S, go right to ES&S, HART machines go right to HART, but Dominion, you go to this intermediate election source. Well, here's election source just showed up in Berry County. That's where Sheriff Darley is. He's all over the election material. And this was on conservative-daily.com. It was a show from September 4th. Mark Cook is the guy that recorded the two chief officers for the election source. His website is handcountroadshow.org. Handcountroadshow.org. Go to the Berry County talk, and you can see all this. I'll have the links when I send out. But here's what they found out from Berry County. Here is the picture of the president and the vice president of election source. They both attended the meeting, and here Mark says, at one point, one of the county citizens from Berry County noticed that two strangers in the back room were from election source, the vendor that services Dominion voting equipment and systems in Michigan. We got their cards for Jared Usarski, he's the president, and Steve DeLongchamp. And maybe you know some, or Michelle possibly knows them and could talk to them about this, hopefully. But throughout the talk, Jared kept raising his hand during most of the presentation. When that wasn't enough, he stood up. Well, good for him. You know, if he wants to get a point across. And then here, a citizen then had some questions. I had some questions that meaning, okay. Forget the guy's name. But he had some questions. Mark Cook, I'm sorry. A citizen then had some questions, and I had some questions. that Jared Starsky admitted two things with his CEO, Steve DeLongchamp, sitting right next to him in front of the Greenbow citizens. First of all, he said they were aware of the back doors in Dominion voting machines. And secondly, they continued to sell Dominion to the county, such as Leelanau County. The conclusion was that they fixed some of the problems with Dominion machines, enumerated vulnerabilities. Multiple medium and high vulnerabilities still exist within the suite. A remote user can leverage most of the vulnerabilities across the network to obtain information about the system, voting ballot results, and such. If remote access is gained, recovery of user credentials through system memory, RAM, analysis could be executed and used to modify the back-end database of the EMS server. And here is just a little quote from Mark Cook. Did you hear that? It's not the machines they're selling, it's the process of the elections that they're selling. That's what he said, admitted it to everyone. They are selling the election process. So who's in charge of our elections? He says the vendors are in charge.
Thank you, Bill.
I still have 7 seconds, I think. But at any rate, I'll get this out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Your timer's fast, I guess.
You have to recalibrate that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
just like you have to recalibrate the machines.
Thank you, Bill.
Got it, Bill.
Thanks for waiting for us as well. Okay, we're now down to commissioner comments. Anybody have a comment?
Good to see y'all.
Your pen.
Okay, approval of financials.
I would move to recommend claims and accounts, $244,906.83.
Support.
All those for that motion say aye.
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 Motion approved 5-0.
Move to recommend post audit, and I choked over this one, by the way. Post audit, $7,671,535.22.
Support.
Do you want to know why?
Yeah, it was,
This is the time of year that the treasurer takes in all the collections and then we turn the checks back out to the municipalities like the state ed to the state. That's big.
it's huge, it's huge in Leelanau County, yeah.
It's
Lots of
always
our money.
Well, it is taxpayers' money, yeah,
But it goes to everybody that we collected.
yes.
Money in, money out.
We have a motion on the,
Oh, one more thing.
Can I just mention, I did get word from my assistant finance director that I could release his name. His name is Mike Berkmeyer, and he comes to us from Grand Rapids and has found housing in the area. And he comes from a strong banking background and employee at is customer relations, and he is very much about policies, and he was in charge of writing responses to FDIC complaints.
Wonderful.
So he's very highly spoken of by his references, and I look forward to having him as my right hand.
Congrats.
You said Mike?
Mike.
Okay, wonderful. Congratulations.
all those in support of the motion that's on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 5-0. Motion adjourned?
So moved.
Thank you,
We're also
Kathy,
gonna make
for
sure that
everything.
Thank you.
You dropped